The Spicy Secret. In the quiet village of Bhoolpur, nestled between whispering hills and ancient trees, life moved slowly. The villagers liked it that way, predictable, safe, and untouched by the outside world. But one evening, just as the sun slipped behind the hills and twilight painted the sky in shades of purple, something unusual happened. A strange cart appeared in the village square. It wasn't pushed by horse or human. It stood on its own, steaming gently, as if it had rolled out of a dream. Lanterns with dancing fireflies floated around it, casting warm orange glows. The cart was made of polished bamboo and blackened iron, with a large wok sizzling at the center. A wooden sign hung crookedly above it, "Hot chow mein, 1 coin, 1 bowl." Behind the cart stood a woman, tall, hunched, and wrapped in a cloak that shimmered like oil on water. Her eyes gleamed green, her nails were long and twisted, and her silver hair moved like it had its own wind. She stirred the wok without looking, humming a tune that didn't belong to this world. The villagers, huddled in doorways and behind carts, stared. No one spoke. No one moved. Children peeked out from behind their mothers' shawls, and dogs whimpered low. "Witch," whispered an old man. "A witch has come to poison us." "She'll put spells in the food," muttered another. "Black magic noodles." No one dared approach, except for Tinku. Tinku was 12, skinny as a twig, and known for two things: being an orphan and having no sense of fear. He lived near the edge of the village in a broken hut and survived on scraps and kindness. That night, his stomach growled so loudly it seemed to echo off the square walls. He stepped forward, barefoot and wide-eyed. "Can I have a bowl, ma'am?" he asked. The woman didn't flinch. "1 coin," she said in a voice like cinnamon and smoke. Tinka dug into his ragged shirt and pulled out a small copper coin, the only one he had. He placed it gently on the counter. The woman nodded once. The wok hissed, the flames danced higher, and soon she handed him a bowl. The aroma hit him like a warm blanket: garlic, soy, ginger, and something he couldn't name. The noodles shimmered gold, speckled with green herbs and red peppers that looked like little jewels. Tinku slurped eagerly. And then the world changed. Colors brightened. The cool wind whispered words he could understand. A pigeon on the roof chirped, "Good choice, boy," before flying away. For a few minutes, Tinku felt magical. Whole. Like he belonged. When he blinked, everything returned to normal. But something in his heart had shifted. The bowl was empty. He looked up. "That was the best thing I've ever eaten." The woman simply nodded. "Come again if you dare." But behind them, a scream broke the quiet. "It's cursed food," shouted a mother. "He's been enchanted." Men grabbed sticks. One threw a stone. "Get out, witch." The woman didn't react. She calmly packed up her wok and extinguished the flames with a snap of her fingers. The cart rolled away on its own wheels, vanishing into the mist beyond the square. Tinka shouted after her, "Wait, come back." But she was gone. The villagers surrounded Tinku, inspecting him like he had grown horns. "Are you bewitched?" one demanded. "No," Tinku replied. "She's not evil. The food was magical, but not in a bad way. I could understand a bird." That didn't help. From that night, the story of the Chowitch spread across Bhoolpur. Parents warned their children to stay indoors after sunset. Elders sprinkled salt around their doorsteps. And the square was declared off-limits after dark. But Tinku couldn't forget the taste. Or the way he had felt. It wasn't just about the noodles, it was what they did. They had shown him something real, something he didn't have words for. For the next few nights, he waited in the square, hoping she would return. But she didn't. And deep in the hills, far from the fearful eyes of Bhoolpur, the Chowitch stirred her wok in silence, her eyes on the flame, waiting for a village brave enough to taste the truth. The memory ingredient. A week passed, and the village of Bhoolpur returned to its old ways, quiet, suspicious, and tight-lipped. But Tinku had not forgotten the Chowitch, or the taste of her chow mein that had stirred something deep in his soul. Each evening, as the sun dipped low and the shadows lengthened, Tinku wandered to the edge of the forest, clutching the empty wooden bowl she'd given him. It was smooth now from his fingers tracing it, over and over, like a charm. He didn't know why he was drawn there, only that something in the trees whispered her name. One morning, unable to hold back any longer, he packed a piece of dry roti in his cloth sack, tied his sandals with string, and stepped into the woods. The path was old and narrow, overgrown with vines and branches, but it felt welcoming, as if the forest itself had been waiting. Hours passed. Birds chirped in strange rhythms, and the air grew thick with spice-scented fog. Just as Tinku's legs began to tremble from hunger, he saw it, a soft glow through the trees. There, nestled in a clearing, was a hut unlike any he'd seen. The walls were woven bamboo, painted with swirling patterns of chili red and turmeric yellow. The roof was made of old walks stacked like scales, and smoke rose from a crooked chimney that smelled like garlic and green onions. Tinku stepped closer. The door creaked open before he could knock. "You came," said the Chowitch, standing inside, her cloak now faded to lavender. "I wondered if you would." Tinku nodded. "I want to know the truth. About your food. About you." She looked at him for a long moment, then turned. "Then come into my kitchen. But remember, truth has a taste not everyone can handle." Inside, the air shimmered with heat and memory. Woks hung from the ceiling like lanterns. Spices floated in the air, sparkling like dust motes. In the center was a large, black cauldron-like wok resting on a living flame. It flickered with blue and green, crackling without wood or fuel. "This," she said, "is the kitchen of forgotten flavors. I cook not just with ingredients, but with emotions. Memories, longings, regret." Tinku stepped closer.
"How?"
She plucked a pod of cardamom and crushed it between her fingers. A scent filled the air, warm, sweet, like the feeling of home. "Smell that?" she asked. "That's comfort. Someone once gave me a hug after I fed them this spice. That emotion stayed." She moved gracefully, grabbing garlic, dried chilies, ginger roots shaped like crooked fingers. "When I cook, I stir in what people carry deep inside. Sometimes joy, sometimes grief. That's why your chow main let you speak to birds. You tasted wonder." Tinku's eyes widened. "So it wasn't magic spells, it was feelings?" "Feelings are the oldest magic of all," she said. "They cannot be bought, only shared." She handed him a ladle. "You want to learn? Then help me make something." Together, they chopped, stirred, and sprinkled. The pot hissed and glowed, sending up steam that shimmered with color. Tinku felt warmth rising in his chest. As he stirred, memories surfaced, his mother laughing, his father dancing clumsily in the rain, both lost to fever when he was 6. He hadn't remembered those moments in years. Tears blurred his eyes. The Chowitch nodded. "That's the memory ingredient. Powerful, isn't it?" Tinku whispered. "Why did the villagers hate you?" She paused, then said, "Because they fear what they don't understand. Years ago, I was a cook in Bhoolpur. I had a shop, a home, a name. But when people started having strange dreams after eating my food, they panicked. Said, I was a witch. They drove me out. But you were helping them," Tinku said. "Truth doesn't always look kind. Some dreams showed people what they'd lost. Some cried for hours. But healing begins where pain is uncovered." She took a small bowl and ladled their creation into it. The noodles shimmered with a golden hue. She passed it to Tinku. He took one bite. This time, he didn't see birds or hear animals, but he felt something bloom inside him. A warmth, a safety, the feeling of being held. His chest swelled, and for a brief moment, he felt whole again. He looked up. "The village needs to taste this." "They're not ready," she said softly. "They want safety, not truth." "Then we have to show them they're wrong," he said. "One bowl at a time." She studied him for a long while, then gave a slow smile, one that warmed the room more than the fire. "You have the heart of a cook," she said. "But not just any cook, a soul stirrer. Let's begin." The Festival of Flames. In Bhoolpur, there were only 2 reasons people gathered in the village square: to worship or to fear. But once a year, during the Lantern Festival, the fear gave way to light. Bright paper lanterns floated above rooftops, strung between trees and stalls. Drums echoed through the village as children chased fireflies with painted faces. The scent of roasted corn, sweet fritters, and fried peanuts wafted through the cool evening air. It was the perfect moment. Tinku adjusted the wooden sign hanging from the newly polished cart. Chowitch's cart, magic served hot. He'd painted it himself, with bold red strokes. He looked to the woman beside him. The Chowitch's lavender cloak shimmered faintly under the lantern glow. Her hair was tied back, her face calm. "You're sure you want to do this?" he asked. "I serve truth," she said, "even if it burns." Tinku had begged the village council to let her cook at the festival. They had reluctantly agreed, under the condition that she remain supervised and prepare only food. No tricks. Many villagers protested, but the chief, curious and tired of fear, overruled them. As the sun dipped below the hills, the Chowitch lit her walk. Flames danced high, catching the eyes of nearby children. Oil hissed, and the first ladle of noodles hit the pan like a song. Garlic, chili, and sesame filled the air. A crowd gathered, cautiously at first. Whispers rippled through them like wind through dry grass. "Is that her? The witch. She's cooking actual chow mein?" One brave girl stepped forward. Her name was Gudia, and Tinku recognized her from the schoolyard. "Can I try?" she asked, eyes round. The Chowitch smiled. "One bowl, one truth." Gudia took the steaming noodles and slurped eagerly. She blinked once, then again. And then she laughed, a loud, joyful laugh. "I remember. My grandfather used to make noodles just like this." "I haven't thought of him in years." Her mother, stunned, stepped forward. "Let me try." One by one, villagers approached. They hesitated, but curiosity tugged harder than fear. Each who tasted the food experienced something different. The feeling of a long-lost hug, a half-forgotten lullaby, a sweet childhood day in the rain. Some wept silently. Others laughed like children. A few just closed their eyes and breathed. The line grew. The Chowitch stirred, served, and said little. Tinku moved beside her, taking coins, wiping bowls, whispering kind words when needed. But not everyone was pleased. Near the back of the crowd stood Juggin, a stout man with a scowl carved deep into his face. His arms were crossed, his glare sharp. His younger brother, Ravi, had once fallen ill after eating from a street vendor. Juggin blamed the strange food and spent years feeding fear to the villagers. "She's tricking them," he growled. "It's poison in disguise." No one answered him. Fury surged in his chest. He grabbed a lantern stick from a passing boy and shoved his way forward. "You think this is magic? It's manipulation." Tinku stepped between him and the cart. "She's helping. People are remembering who they are." "She's a fraud," Juggin shouted, raising the flaming stick. "And frauds deserve fire." Before anyone could stop him, he hurled the torch at the cart. Flames licked across the edge of the wooden frame. Oil sizzled dangerously. Screams erupted as people scattered. The Chowitch didn't flinch. With a wave of her hand, steam exploded from the wok, extinguishing the fire in seconds. But the cart had blackened, part of its side scorched. Juggin stood still, breathing heavily. "I only wanted to protect my people," he said. "I lost my brother to food like this." The Chowitch stepped forward, her eyes soft. "Then you carry grief, not hate. Taste it." She held out a small wooden bowl, just plain noodles, no shimmer or glow. Juggin hesitated. Then, as the crowd watched in silence, he took the bowl and ate. His face changed. "My mother," he whispered. "She used to feed me noodles when I was sick. Before Ravi was born. Before everything." He dropped to his knees, tears sliding down his cheeks. "I forgot." The Chowitch knelt beside him. "Grief blinds, but memory can heal." The crowd watched silent. Then, slowly, they stepped forward, dozens of villagers offering help. Bowls, hands to clean the scorched cart. That night, under the lanterns, something shifted in Bhoolpur. The villagers no longer saw a witch. They saw a cook, a woman, a memory keeper. The festival ended, but the cart remained. Repaired. Revered. The recipe of change. The morning after the Lantern Festival, Bhoolpur awoke to an unfamiliar feeling. Openness. The square, once filled with mutters and mistrust, now buzzed with something lighter. Villagers gathered in small groups, talking not of curses or witches, but of memories, those uncovered by a simple bowl of noodles. At the heart of the square stood the cart, slightly scorched but proud, its red sign freshly repainted. Chowitch's cart, come taste yourself. Tinku stood beside it, carefully wiping down the counters. He had barely slept, his mind spinning with images of the night before, Juggins' tears, the crowd's silence, the wave of hands that had come to help. He turned to see the Chowitch unpacking a new bundle of ingredients, lotus stems, dried bamboo shoots, and a glowing, amber-colored paste that smelled like citrus and campfire. "What's that?"
Tinku asked.
She held it up. Regret. A rare ingredient. Strong but healing. "Are we really doing this?" he asked. "Turning this into something regular?" She gave him a smile, weary but warm. Healing is never regular. But yes, Bhoolpur is ready. Mostly. That morning they cooked slowly. There were no tricks. No fire shows. Just honest food and curious hearts. The first customers were children, wide-eyed and grinning. Then came the village schoolteacher, who tasted a noodle and whispered, "I just remembered my first lesson, and how scared I was to teach it." Then the baker, who chuckled, "I forgot how much I loved cinnamon." And finally, old Mira Auntie, who said nothing at all but hugged the Chowitch tightly after just one bite. By midday, the cart was nearly empty. Tinku leaned back, exhausted. "This is bigger than just food," he said. "It always was," she replied. "But they called you a witch," he said, quieter now. "They feared you." She looked out across the square, where villagers now sat together on the stone steps, sharing memories with their mouths full. "Fear fades," she said, "but truth simmers slowly. It must be stirred, served, and shared." A small bell jingled. They turned to see the village chief approaching. A tall, thin man with silver in his beard and suspicion still in his eyes, but curiosity, too. "I've been watching," he said. "You've changed things." "I only stirred what was already inside them," the Chowitch replied. The chief looked at Tinku. "And you? What do you see in all this?" Tinku stood tall. "I see people remembering who they are, and I want to help them keep remembering." The chief nodded slowly. "Then perhaps it's time Bhoolpur stopped fearing what it doesn't understand." He pulled a scroll from his robe, official village parchment. "This is a license," he said, unrolling it, "to operate a permanent kitchen in the village square. One condition, it must be open to all, no magic tricks." The Chowitch took the scroll. "Truth doesn't need tricks." With a bow, the chief left. Tinku grinned. "We did it. We're staying." But the Chowitch's smile was faint. "I'm not staying," she said softly.
"What?"
"This cart, this food, they travel. There are other villages, other hearts sealed by fear. But we just got them to accept you." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You got them too. You stirred their memories. Their healing came from your courage. This kitchen doesn't belong to me anymore. It belongs to Bhoolpur." Tinku blinked, heart pounding. "But I don't know everything you do. I can't make noodles that talk to birds." "You don't need to," she said. "Just make food that talks to people." She handed him a scroll bound in red string. "My recipes. Not for flavor, but for feeling. Follow them with your heart." Tinku clutched it like treasure. "And remember," she added, "no matter how many ingredients you forget, never cook without care. That's the first and final rule." By dusk, the Chowitch's cart was gone again, vanished into the misty hills, just as it had come. But Bhoolpur didn't forget. Tinku opened a small stall beside the banyan tree, painting it red and gold. He renamed it Soul Noodles. The first bowl he served carried the taste of courage, the second the hint of forgiveness. People came every day, some to eat, some to feel, and some simply to remember. And once in a while, when the evening breeze carried a strange scent, smoke, cinnamon, and something like starlight, Tinku would smile, knowing the Chowitch had stirred another soul, far away.